Emily Harper and David Harper seemed to have it all: a picture-perfect life, a stunning home, and a marriage envied by everyone who knew them. To the outside world, nothing could go wrong. But one overlooked detail, buried in the shadows of their perfect life, would unravel everything Emily thought she knew about her husband, her home, and herself. A simple photograph, a hidden letter, and a mysterious warning became the first pieces of a terrifying puzzle, revealing that the life she trusted most was built on secrets, manipulation, and deception. What started as ordinary days of comfort and routine soon spiraled into fear, suspicion, and a fight for survival that would change Emily's world forever. Emily Harper's life was the kind that people envied. At 32, she had built a career in interior design that was admired by clients and colleagues alike. Her home was immaculate, filled with carefully chosen furniture and art that reflected her refined taste. Every corner of her life seemed meticulously planned, from her perfectly organized calendar to the weekend getaways with her husband, David. Friends described them as the ideal couple, always smiling at social gatherings, attending charity events together, and sharing glimpses of their seemingly flawless life on social media. To the outside world, there was no flaw in their world. It looked as though nothing could ever go wrong. David was equally admired, a successful businessman with charm that drew people in. He seemed attentive, caring, and always supportive, the kind of partner who made Emily feel safe and loved. Their marriage appeared rock solid, built on trust, mutual respect, and shared ambitions. Emily often reflected on how fortunate she was, feeling grateful for the stability and beauty surrounding her. Yet, even in her picture-perfect life, a small unease lingered, though she could never quite name it. Something in her past, a faint memory she had long buried, hovered at the edges of her mind. It was insignificant enough to ignore, easily pushed aside by the day-to-day perfection she carefully maintained. Despite this, small details occasionally caught her attention. An unfamiliar car parked outside, a misplaced item, or a fleeting shadow seen through a window, but she convinced herself these were coincidences. Emily prided herself on control, believing that if she managed every aspect of her life, nothing could threaten it. Her days moved in a rhythmic, reassuring pattern, each morning beginning with the same routine, each evening ending in the same calm comfort. On the surface, Emily Harper had it all: a perfect life, a perfect home, and a perfect husband. The unease that Emily had tried to ignore began to grow. It started with small, almost imperceptible things that didn't fit the orderly life she had worked so hard to create. A key left on the counter in a place it shouldn't be. The faint sound of footsteps in the hallway when David was supposed to be at work. A locked drawer in his study that he had always dismissed when she asked about it. Each incident seemed minor, easily explained, but together they formed a pattern that made Emily's stomach tighten with worry. Her first instinct was to ignore it, to chalk it up to coincidence. Yet deep down, a gnawing feeling told her something was wrong. One afternoon, as she flipped through a home and lifestyle magazine while sipping her coffee, a photograph caught her eye. It was a sprawling suburban home, sun-drenched and perfectly manicured, its facade almost identical to hers. But something about the image made her pause. The angle, the shadows, the way the garden was arranged, it all triggered a faint memory buried deep in her mind. A man she had seen years ago, standing across the street, staring at her with an intensity that had unsettled her at the time. She had dismissed the memory back then, thinking it irrelevant, but now it returned with full clarity. Emily began noticing other small inconsistencies. A forgotten email referencing someone she didn't recognize, a delivery that she hadn't ordered, an unusual car parked near her home at odd hours. Her once comforting routines now felt like fragile shields against an unknown threat. She realized that her carefully curated life, the one she had believed was entirely under her control, might not be as secure as she had thought. Something, or someone, was quietly intruding, testing the boundaries of her seemingly perfect existence. And for the first time, Emily understood that this was more than coincidence. It was a warning. A single overlooked detail, she realized, could be the key to unraveling the life she had spent. One morning, Emily returned from her usual morning run to find a plain, unmarked package sitting on her doorstep. There was no return address, no indication of who had sent it, just a small brown box sealed with tape. Her heart beat faster as she brought it inside. The calm rhythm of her morning shattered. She carefully opened it, revealing a single envelope inside. The paper was thick, heavy, and unassuming, yet the message it contained sent a chill down her spine. Not everything is as perfect as it seems. There are no signatures, no hints, no explanation, just those 6 words that made her blood run cold. Fear gripped Emily in a way she had never experienced. She checked the doors, the windows, the security system. Everything was exactly as it should be. No signs of forced entry, no disturbances, nothing to indicate how the package had arrived. The thought that someone had been inside her home, observing her, unsettled her to her core. She tried to rationalize it, telling herself it was a prank or a misdelivered package. But the message felt pointed, personal, and intentional, and she knew deep down that it was impossible to ignore. David noticed her unease immediately. His calm reassurances, his careful tone, and his insistence that it was probably a harmless mistake should have eased her fear, yet they had the opposite effect. She began to see cracks in the life she had always considered perfect. Who would send this? Why her? And how did they know enough to strike so directly at the sense of safety she had cultivated? Emily's mind raced with possibilities, but none of them brought comfort. Every shadow seemed longer, every sound more suspicious. The envelope, simple as it was, had shifted her world, turning her home, the sanctuary she had spent years building, into a place of uncertainty. She realized that what had once seemed minor, a fleeting unease, had become a looming threat. Someone was watching, and Emily knew that this warning was only the beginning. Emily could no longer ignore the gnawing feeling that something in her life was dangerously out of place. The envelope had shaken her to her core, forcing her to confront a past she had carefully avoided. Late at night, she began digging through old emails, contracts, and photographs she had kept tucked away in storage boxes. At first, it seemed like nothing more than busy work, a way to calm her restless mind. But soon, she uncovered a detail that made her breath catch. The house she had adored, the one she had believed to be her sanctuary, had a history she had never known. Decades earlier, the property had been the site of a mysterious disappearance. A young couple had vanished without a trace, leaving behind an empty house and whispers of suspicion in the neighborhood. The property had quietly changed hands, sold without mention of its dark past. Emily realized that the perfect home she had fallen in love with was built upon a foundation of secrets. The more she learned, the more the unease that had always lingered in the back of her mind seemed justified. She started noticing subtle clues she had missed before. The strangely reinforced locks on some doors, the unusually tall, opaque windows, the way certain rooms were hidden from casual view. These were not mistakes or quirks. They were deliberate. It became clear that the house itself was a carefully constructed environment, designed to hide something, to keep certain truths out of sight. Emily's admiration for her home began to shift into suspicion. The comfort she once felt walking through its hallways now carried a sharp edge of fear. For the first time, Emily questioned everything about the life she had built. Her husband, her career, her routines, all of it seemed fragile, vulnerable to forces she had never imagined. The house she thought of as a symbol of achievement now felt like a trap, and Emily realized that uncovering its hidden past might be the key to understanding the warnings she had received. Late one night, Emily returned home to a sense of unease she could no longer ignore. The driveway was empty, the house quiet, yet something felt wrong. Her footsteps echoed unnaturally in the hall as she moved from room to room, checking each door and window. Everything appeared normal, but instinct told her otherwise. When she reached David's study, a chill ran down her spine. The room was exactly as it should be. yet she felt compelled to examine it more closely. Her eyes fell on a large bookshelf that David had installed months earlier. It seemed ordinary, but something about the alignment of the shelves caught her attention. She pressed gently against the wood and was shocked when a section swung inward, revealing a hidden compartment. Heart racing, Emily stepped closer and peered inside. There, neatly stacked, were letters, documents, and photographs that made her hands tremble. They revealed that David had known the house's dark past long before they had moved in. He had researched its history in detail, uncovering the disappearance of a young couple decades earlier. Worse, he had orchestrated their move into the house, carefully ensuring Emily would fall in love with it, never suspecting the danger it concealed. The revelation hit Emily like a physical blow. Everything she had trusted about her husband, the charm, the attentiveness, the seemingly flawless marriage, now appeared to be part of a deliberate plan. David had a motive that extended far beyond her understanding. His interest in the house and its history was not casual. It was calculated, purposeful, and sinister. Emily realized that she had been living in a life constructed by someone who saw her as a pawn. As she absorbed the evidence, a cold clarity set in. The life she thought was perfect had been a carefully staged illusion. The house, the husband, the routines, all were tools in a hidden game. Emily understood, for the first time, that surviving meant uncovering every secret. Emily's mind raced as she tried to piece together the full extent of David's deception. Every carefully curated moment of their life, the vacations, the dinner parties, the social media posts, now seemed staged, designed to keep her unsuspecting and under control. She retraced his steps over the past year, searching for patterns she had overlooked. Late-night phone calls he claimed were work-related, mysterious meetings he never fully explained, and financial transactions that didn't make sense all pointed to a hidden agenda. The perfect life she had believed in was unraveling, thread by thread. She began documenting everything, quietly taking photographs of the hidden compartment and the letters within. Emily researched the property's past more deeply, discovering legal documents that suggested David had profited from transactions linked to the original owner's disappearance. The realization that he had been manipulating not only their lives, but also the lives of others filled her with dread. She felt a mix of fear, anger, and betrayal, understanding that the man she loved was capable of calculating, deliberate deception. The intimacy and trust she had shared with him now felt like tools he had used to keep her blind. Emily also started noticing subtle behaviors she had ignored for years. The way David watched her sometimes, not with warmth, but with calculation. The careful way he guided conversations to avoid certain topics. The small manipulations that seemed insignificant at the time, but now revealed a pattern of control. Each observation was a piece of the puzzle, showing that her life had never been fully her own. Yet, amid the fear and disbelief, a determination began to take root. Emily realized that she could no longer live in ignorance or submission. Understanding David's patterns, motives, and secrets was her only way to protect herself. She knew that exposing him would be dangerous, that the unraveling of her life had only just begun. Emily spent days preparing, moving carefully and quietly to ensure that every piece of evidence she had gathered was secure. She documented the hidden compartment, the letters, and the financial records, knowing that confronting David without proof would be dangerous. Each night, she replayed scenarios in her mind, imagining his reactions, measuring her own responses, and planning how to reveal the truth without giving him a chance to manipulate her again. The fear that had gripped her for weeks was still there, but it was now accompanied by a sharpened resolve. One evening, she led David into the study under the pretense of discussing a minor household matter. As he spoke, Emily's gaze remained steady on him, her hands resting casually on the desk. She had rehearsed this moment over and over, and now she felt the calm certainty that came from being prepared. Then, without a word, she produced the evidence: photographs of the hidden compartment, copies of letters, documents detailing his manipulations, and records of the financial transactions that tied him to the dark history of their home. David's carefully maintained facade began to crack the instant he saw the evidence. The charm, the calm, the attentive husband, all of it vanished, replaced by a flicker of anger and panic. Emily watched as the man she had once trusted revealed himself for what he truly was: calculating, controlling, and dangerous. It was no longer just about the house or the past. It was about power, deception, and the control he had exercised over her life. For the first time, Emily felt the full weight of clarity. She was no longer a pawn. She was fully aware of the game he had tried to play. Every smile, every touch, every reassuring word had been part of a calculated design. Standing there, holding the proof in her hands, she realized that survival would not come from fear, but from exposing the truth. The confrontation was not just about revealing him. It was about reclaiming her life. Emily finally felt a sense of control she hadn't experienced in months. After confronting David and documenting everything, she contacted the authorities, providing them with the evidence she had meticulously gathered. The investigation confirmed her worst suspicions. David had manipulated not only their lives, but had profited from the dark history of the house. The realization that her marriage had been built on deception left her shaken, but the confirmation also gave her a strange sense of relief. She was no longer alone in her fight, and the truth was now in the hands of those who could act on it. The house, once a symbol of achievement and comfort, became a reminder of betrayal. Emily made the decision to sell it, severing the physical ties to the past that had threatened to trap her. Moving was difficult, but necessary. Every box packed, every room left behind, felt like shedding a layer of fear, suspicion, and manipulation. The perfect life she had once believed in was gone, replaced by uncertainty, but also by freedom. She learned that perfection was an illusion, and that real strength came from facing hidden truths, no matter how frightening they were. In her new city, Emily began to rebuild her life from the ground up. She focused on her career, finding projects that brought genuine joy and satisfaction. She surrounded herself with people who were trustworthy and kind, carefully choosing relationships that were built on honesty. Though she would always carry the memories of the manipulation and deception she had endured, she used them as lessons rather than burdens. Emily's story became a quiet testament to resilience. One small detail, the warning, the photograph, the hidden letters, had changed everything. It had revealed the truth behind the perfection, saved her from a dangerous life, and given her the opportunity to reclaim autonomy. Though her life would never be flawless again, it was authentic, and that authenticity was more valuable.